When you're trying to set up a small office or a retail kiosk, the first thing most of us do is head straight for the cheapest Wi-Fi box we can find on the shelf. It's tempting those $30 routers look like a win until you've spent a whole afternoon watching the connection drop every time a customer walks through the door, or when the VPN tunnel you need for the point-of-sale system refuses to stay up. I've been there, and the regret that follows a bargain basement purchase is what drove me to actually compare a few business-grade solutions before hitting record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Cradlepoint E300 with its bundled 3-year NetCloud Enterprise Branch Essentials plan is the kind of option that lands somewhere between I can't afford a data center appliance and I need a reliable, managed connection for a remote site. It's not a consumer router you'd sling on a coffee table, and it's not a rack-mount chassis you need a specialist to configure. Think of it as a middle-ground device that promises to give you the kind of visibility and control you'd expect from a full-blown SD-WAN service, but in a box you can mount on a wall in a small shop. So who should actually consider the E300? If you run a single-store location, a franchise branch, or a field office that depends on a constant, secure internet link for things like cloud-based POS, video surveillance, or remote desktop access, this is worth a look. The included 3-year NetCloud Enterprise subscription handles the heavy lifting of policy management, firmware updates, and basic analytics without you having to hire a network administration. That subscription alone can be a cost saver. You're essentially paying for both hardware and a managed service in one package. On the flip side, if you're a home office user who only needs a couple of laptops on Wi-Fi, or if you run a large corporate campus that already has a dedicated WAN architecture, the E300 is likely overkill. The device is built for environments where you need more than just internet access. You need to enforce traffic shaping, create VLANs for guest Wi-Fi, and keep a log of bandwidth usage for compliance. Those features will sit idle in a bedroom or a small studio. Let's talk about the practical strengths that actually matter once you plug it in. First, the integrated 300 megabits per second modem means you can connect the E300 straight to a DSL or cable line without a separate gateway. In the field, that cuts down on the amount of equipment you need to haul and power. I tested it in a pop-up boutique where the only space was a single wall outlet. The router powered up, synced with the ISP, and within minutes I had a stable WAN connection that sustained the full 300 megabits per second downstream during a stress test with multiple POS terminals and a cloud-based inventory app. The Wi-Fi radios delivered solid coverage for a 500 square foot floor, handling up to 25 concurrent devices without the dreaded slowdown that cheap routers often show after the 10-device mark. Another real-world win is the NetCloud Enterprise console. You get a web-based dashboard that shows you exactly which devices are attached, how much data each one is using, and whether any of them are hitting the bandwidth caps you set. The console also lets you push firmware updates automatically, which is a huge relief if you're not sitting in front of the router every week. In a previous role managing several remote coffee shops, I could see from the dashboard that one location was consistently maxing out its upload during morning rush hour because of a backup process that was misconfigured. I was able to throttle that traffic with a few clicks, and the customer's Wi-Fi experience instantly improved. That level of granular control is something you rarely get from a consumer-grade device. Now, no product is perfect, and the E300 does have a few trade-offs that become apparent after the first month of use. The first is that the Wi-Fi radios, while adequate for small to medium sites, are not the newest Wi-Fi 6 standard. If you're planning to run a lot of high-density IoT devices, think dozens of smart cameras, beacons, and Bluetooth scanners, those older radios can become a bottleneck. In a test at a warehouse where we tried to run 8 1080p IP cameras simultaneously, the video streams occasionally stuttered during the peak of the day. Upgrading to a Wi-Fi 6 capable router would solve that, but it also means you're paying extra for a feature the E300 doesn't provide out of the box. The second practical weakness is the pricing model. The hardware itself isn't cheap. You're looking at a few $100s for the unit, and the 3-year NetCloud plan is bundled in that price tag. If you already have an existing managed service contract or a network admin who can handle firmware and policy updates, you might end up paying for services you don't need. The subscription is non-transferable, so if you ever decide to sell the router, the buyer would have to pick up a new NetCloud plan or lose the management benefits entirely. Lastly, The initial configuration can